Hello and welcome everybody to another edition of Mexico News Network's Breaking News Business, here at the El Dorado Royale Spa Resort in Mexico's Riviera Maya. I'm your host, Elliot Bullman. Before we start, remember to check out all our social media networks, Facebook, Twitter and Google+, and you can catch us daily on MexicoNewsNetwork.com for relevant stories and news. Let's start with today's show. According to the Immigration Policy Unit, last year 58.2% of tourists entering Mexico came from the United States, which represented an addition of 9.4 million tourists. Strategies to diversify international tourists visiting Mexico have not given the expected result. As such, Mexico is increasingly dependent on travelers from the United States, which has recently been accentuated by the rising dollar. According to data from the Immigration Policy Unit under the Ministry of the Interior, in 2016, 58.2% of registered air tickets corresponded to travelers with US nationality, up from 57.2% a year earlier. In 2016, American travelers entering Mexico increased by 12.2% compared to 2015, and that was up 64% compared to 5 years ago. In the domestic market, growth in the movement of travelers was 10.3% and 58% in the same order. Travel destinations and businesses in the industry are heavily dependent on tourists from the United States. If that dependence has grown, it's because the exchange rate has made the conditions so, said Gerardo Herrera, an economist specializing in tourism at the Universidad Iberoamericana. With the strong US economy and the peso oscillating between 20 and 21 pesos to the dollar, US economic headwinds look strong, which means we can expect a lot more US travelers here in Mexico this year. Food production and the business of exporting produce from Mexico to the rest of the world has a highly ambitious outlook for the country this year. More than 160 countries are consuming products made in Mexico, a result of 120 million Mexicans who are doing a great job, in which the preparation of professionals dedicated to food production is the main tool. Among the products that Mexico exports are tomatoes, honey, pork, beef, poultry and pasteurized egg, the head of the National Service of Health, Safety and Agro-Food Quality, Enrique Sanchez Cruz, described. He stressed that all national produce meets the health and quality requirements for countries that are as demanding as Australia, China, Japan and even the Belgian Congo. In addition, Mexico is currently negotiating with Arab countries to market a wide variety of foods, since they import 90% of what they consume. Mexico is recognized by the World Organization for Animal Health as one of the 5 countries free of the 6 most dangerous animal diseases in the world. This shows that we do know and we can do our job well, emphasized Sanchez Cruz. In my view, Mexico has become a global leader in the export of produce. Countries like Germany, who rely more and more on organic foods, and regions like Asia and the Middle East, who are importing increasingly substantial amounts of produce from Mexico. Before you rush out and buy products under the newly relaunched Made in Mexico label, be sure the products you consume are actually made by Mexican companies. With the advent of the North American Free Trade Agreement, some classic brands such as Chambursi were absorbed by Nestlé, which later sold it to Alpina. Chambursi was not Mexican, never was, it was actually Colombian. Tequila Don Julio was bought by Diageo from the Beckman family, which was left with the brand of Irish whiskey Bushmills. In fact, most tequilas now already belong to companies like Brown-Forman, which has Tequila Herradura. Salsa Tequila is from the giant Allied Domecq, and Tequila Cazadores belongs to Bacardi. And in the case of beers, it's the same story. Corona was purchased by Belgian company Anheuser-Busch InBev, and they also have the perpetual marketing rights for Grupo Modelo's beer brands in the United States. And we're sorry to disappoint you, but Gamesa is from PepsiCo. That means that cookie brands Marias, Habaneras, and Saladitas are not as Mexican as you might have thought. Colgate-Palmolive, the multinational present in 222 countries, has amongst its brands Fabuloso, Suavitel, and Maestro Limpio. In my view, purchasing products from your country of origin boosts your gross domestic product exponentially. This was all for today. Thank you for staying with us here at the El Dorado Royale Spa Resort in Mexico's Riviera Maya. I'm your host, Elliot Bullman. Before we go, remember to check out all our social media networks, Facebook, Twitter, and Google+, and stay logged on at MexicoNewsNetwork.com for relevant stories and news. Until next time.